Hi, this is Tommy D, and we're at the British Club in Bangkok, which, as you can see, is a rather nice building. Time flies. We're going to be talking about that later on. We're going to be talking to some of the guests of the British Embassy. They've been drawn here tonight. It's a kind of thank you to some of the companies who have supported the British community here in Thailand over the last year. We're going to be talking to some guests here tonight. We'll drag them in here for a quick chat, and not going to be promoting their businesses because, quite frankly, they can do that themselves. But maybe talking about the importance of the services they provide. We're making this video. It is made with the Fab 103 team, but it is made with and for the British Embassy. Good evening. One of the few things that are guaranteed life is death and taxes. And when you die, somebody's got to pick up the pieces. You need a funeral arranger, a funeral director. One of the guests here this evening is Jeff Mitchell. Good evening.
Good evening, Tommy. Good to be with you.
So that everything's out in the open, Jeff is a very good friend of mine, so I know a lot about his business. But Jeff, for our viewers, what do you actually do? You're a funeral director, but...
Well, we're a funeral director, Tommy, but there's quite a lot of facets to it. So our main line of business is repatriating foreign nationals back to their own country when they pass away. We also do quite a lot of cremations around the country, around Thailand.
Anywhere in the country?
Anywhere, yes.
Now tell us, Jeff, how many people have made arrangements in advance for their demise?
Well, on our books, we have well over 100 people.
They're booked and paid for their funerals?
They're booked and paid. Some haven't paid, some have paid some. We keep a very loose arrangement, I mean, people think you have to pay for your funeral all at once if you're planning it, but you don't. Some people pay on standing order. Some people don't pay at all. And even if those people that don't pay at all, at least they've got a contract. So if something happens to them, at least we have a script. And if the next of kin agrees, then they'll have to pay for it, of course.
You must find it very difficult when you're dealing with a client who's not really a client, he's dead, but his family, and nobody has a clue what the now dear departed wanted in life.
Well, that's quite a common everyday occurrence for us. We have to give them a bit of space to work it out, and we don't get involved in the wills because we're not lawyers,
right.
But we know what the actual client wanted.
The thing is, Jeff, there's no point in putting your funeral directions in a will because the will likely won't be unsealed until long after you've been burnt.
That's very true. True.
If somebody wants to plan and wants to make arrangements to save their family all the grief, you're actually a company, and the companies we're talking to today are all companies that are recommended by the British Consulate and the British Embassy. They're all people who have been vetted. Jeff, you used to work for the British Embassy for a long time.
I did, yes.
I'm sure you managed to pass the test. You may have just scraped through.
Just scraped through.
Through.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to pre-arrange their funeral and wants to give you a little bit of money now, maybe pay it in drips or leave it until they die and the rest is paid, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, we're quite well publicised now. A Google search will work. They can get in contact with the embassy. Our name's on the embassy list, AMAR International.
How is your company presented?
It's AMAR.
AMAR.
Yeah, so we say AMAR so it's sort of
AMAR
syllables.
International.
Yes, Asia International. So
okay.
we cover Laos as well, and we do get involved in some other countries, but 95% of our business is Thailand.
Your company's grown a lot. Just before we say goodbye, one of the things I've noticed is that you constantly have a staff that speak multiple languages.
Yes. I have my wife, Dao, who speaks 4 languages. So she's mother tongue Thai, French. She speaks English, probably better than me. And she speaks some German as well. And I know you speak German, Tommy.
Yes. If you paid me, I'd come and help you.
Well, we tried that before, but we couldn't afford you.
There you go then, AMAR International. If you're looking to arrange your funeral and make it a bit easier for your family when you go, call up Jeff or speak to his lovely wife, Dao, and they can take care of it for you.
Can I just say one more thing?
Sure.
Advice is free. A phone call costs nothing, and happy to talk to anyone because everybody's situation is different, and we'll give you a nice friendly conversation. And, we're not hard sellers. I can't sell anything myself. I'd rather just talk about it. If anybody wants any advice, please call us. Dow and myself, AMAR.
And it's worth an endorsement. You're taking care of me very soon, or whenever I go, I'm going to be in your hands.
I think I might go before you, Tommy.
Jeff, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you very much.
Now, we've already spoken to Jeff Mitchell, so we know what happens when you die. But in between now and when you die, the chances are at some point we're going to get sick. And when you get sick, you have two choices, three. You can do your very best to get on an aeroplane, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. You can have medical insurance, or you can be rather desperate to find the money sometimes to cover the bills. Our guest now, Andy Burraclough, good evening.
Good evening.
Now, your company is called?
I'm the Empower School of Health, which is a university.
Right.
So I'm not a company, we are an independent university.
Right. But what we've asked you to talk about now, it isn't about selling a product, it's why should people have medical insurance?
Right. Health insurance in Thailand is a particular problem. For the elderly, it's a problem worldwide. So basically, if you're 50 years old, the premium is about 1% of the benefits. So if you want 4 million baht, you're going to pay around 10,000, 40,000 baht for that.
That's just for inpatient.
Just for inpatients. If you get to 60, it's now 5%.
Right.
When you get to 70, it's now 8 or 9%.
How hard is it for people over 70 to even find a new policy?
Exactly. So that's a problem. One of the problems is, particularly among expatriates in Thailand, is the mismatch between reality and expectations and perceptions.
Especially if they're used to the NHS.
Exactly. They believe someone's going to pay. Well, sorry, they're not.
Right.
You are responsible for your healthcare. You have to take care of it.
So how does a 70-year-old find insurance?
You find insurance by changing your expectations. Everybody wants to go to the top-line hospitals.
Right.
Walk in, fluent English, seen immediately. You don't get that on the NHS.
No.
There are lower-cost hospitals in Thailand. Unfortunately, for Pattaya and Phuket, they are outside the city. So in Pattaya, it's at Sriracha or Sattahip. They are much lower cost. There's the Navy Hospital at Sattahip, there's the Red Cross Hospital at Sriracha, and they are a fraction of the cost.
Well, I'll tell you what, Andy, as you know, I had a stroke.
Yes.
And I had my stroke up in Nakhon Nowhere,
Yes.
middle of nowhere. And so I got taken to the local provincial city and to a regular hospital. And I have to say that the treatment I got there at Kampang Pet was absolutely the dog's what's it. They didn't speak any English, the doctor did, but they did their level best, and the end result is I'm still here.
Yes.
So, and the price was peanuts
A fraction
compared
of
to
the
what
cost.
you pay in
So-
Pattaya.
If you can use the lower cost hospitals, the government hospitals in Pattaya and Phuket are grossly overloaded. Somewhere like outside that, the provincial hospital, like Chonburi Hospital, or the other ones, are good.
But you've still got to pay.
Still got to pay, it's not free, but you could reduce the amount of insurance you need from, let's say, 4 million baht,
Right,
which would cover a road traffic accident
right.
in intensive care in the top line hospitals, to perhaps 500,000 baht. Now, at 500,000 baht, even for the 70-year-olds, the insurance becomes affordable.
Right, but then there's the problem, Andy, that you have your car accident that you talked about, or bike accident in Pattaya, you're unconscious, and because you're a Westerner, they will take you to the more expensive hospital.
But you don't have to stay there for long, do you?
Right.
You can transfer out to the other hospitals.
Okay,
And if you're walking wounded, you can definitely. But it means travelling,
right,
and it means queuing up, and you need a person who speaks Thai to get you through the administration.
right.
Once you're through the administration, nearly all the clinical staff speak English, nursing staff less so. So if you change your perceptions and your expectations to accepting what is in effect the same as you would get on the NHS in the UK, you've got to queue up, you've got to travel to the hospital, particularly now with the hospital closures in the UK. There's not a hospital in every town anymore.
No, but you do have a long waiting list in the UK that you don't have here.
Exactly. If you go to the hospital, you will get seen. You might have to wait 6 or 7 hours. Yes, and it's challenging. But that's the reality, and that's the reality in the UK too. If you change the perception, then your insurance becomes affordable, and you
Right.
can have it. You don't have to have insurance, you can self-insure, but you have to have that money available. Because if you don't, you're in real trouble when the time comes.
That's the catch, isn't it?
And
There's a lot of people don't
All the
have any.
charities, all the organisations, the Legion, the church, everyone else is overwhelmed by people with hospital bills because
Really?
they've made no provision
Right.
for it. Yeah. And it's a case of making provision, either
it's
by
pretty much-
insurance or
So you've
self-insure.
got to plan now. That's
Got to
what you're
plan
saying
it
is
now.
you've got to plan it now.
Plan it now.
Now, a 70-year-old man, he's just arrived in Thailand. He's always had the NHS. Where would he go to get insurance that would cover him?
Right. I recommend, and this is a big difference, going to an insurance broker.
Right.
There are many agents.
Right.
The problem is the agents tend to overhype and oversell the policies.
Right.
Go to a broker who will then meet your need. He'll match your need with what's available.
And there are brokers everywhere that are English or English speaking.
English speaking, yes.
The other thing is, of course, I think it's one of the biggest issues that we've not discussed, pre-existing conditions.
Right. Some of the insurance companies have now got better at that. There has been a problem. The insurance companies started employing clerical staff to handle claims.
Yes.
They had no medical training, and they were often claiming pre-existing conditions and dismissing genuine cases. That seems to have eased off a bit now. They've gone back to putting nursing and medical staff on the claims. But it's been through a bad period for about 5 years
Right.
of people having their claims
That's an
dismissed.
interesting point. That's very important.
So I think it's not gone away completely. You might still need to challenge it, but it's less so.
Would
And
an
the-
insurance company here be able to access your medical records in the UK?
No,
No, well, that answers the question, really, doesn't it?
they're not.
Andy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, good.
Well, you know, right at the beginning of these interviews, I said there's only two things that are guaranteed in life, doesn't matter where you are in the world, death and taxes. And we talked about death with Jeff. We found out how you can plan for that. The other thing is taxes, and the tax news seems to be spreading across the internet and the newspapers, and everybody's suddenly become a tax expert. Where do I have to pay tax? How am I going to pay tax? Who do I have to register with? Do I have to pay tax in the UK? The latest rumour from the UK that we've heard, we don't know yet, is that they're going to change the tax laws for expats living outside the country this year, but nobody knows. Well, we don't know. So with us today, Steve Wilson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And as we were saying before, you're one of many business people who've been invited here today that are supporting the British consulate and the British embassy, and you're recommended by the consulate and embassy. So you've been kind of vetted, and we can rely on your information as good as it can be. So where do I pay my taxes?
You can pay taxes based on your residence status or where you earn sources of income or where you're
So if
registered as a
I live in
business.
Thailand.
So it can be multiple places.
So I live in Thailand and I'm retired, and my only income is a pension, which is mostly coming from the state. I've got a private tax as well. Maybe I've got a bit of other income coming from the UK. Where do I pay tax?
If you are resident in Thailand,
Right.
but you have foreign sources of income, then that foreign sourced income, if it's derived when you are Thai tax resident and is remitted to Thailand, it will become taxable in
So-
Thailand based on a remittance basis currently.
If I'm not registered with the taxman in Thailand, because I never have been, because I have, but maybe our viewer's never been registered with the taxman in Thailand because he's never worked here. At what point is he supposed to register for tax in Thailand?
Basically, a Thai tax resident individual is responsible for filing a tax return if his or her assessable income exceeds certain thresholds. Those thresholds are quite low. So typically, depending on your marital status and the type of income, it can be between 60,000 and 220,000 baht a year.
Okay.
So pretty low, and that's assessable income before deductions and allowances.
Right.
So
But that's money that is paid into a bank in Thailand.
that is assessable income. So that would include income that is sourced in Thailand, earned in Thailand, or foreign sourced income that is remitted to Thailand.
To Thailand. So if you earned £10,000 in the UK, but it never came to Thailand, it's not subject to Thai tax.
As long as that income is genuinely not sourced in Thailand. by which I mean if it's for consultancy services and the services have been provided in Thailand, then it's Thai-sourced income and it's taxable in Thailand anyway.
Right.
If it is genuinely foreign-sourced income and is income that's retained outside of Thailand, not remitted to Thailand, then it's not subject to Thai tax.
So
Currently, under
Currently.
current rules. Yes.
right, because everything changes. We
And
all know that.
And it may well change because the Thai Revenue Department have been talking about introducing a worldwide basis of taxation, which by that we assume that Thai tax resident individuals would be taxed on Thai-sourced income as now, but foreign-sourced income also, whether or not remitted to Thailand.
Right. Wow, that's going to be a hard one to chase, isn't it? So what about us paying tax in the UK? We're expats. We're not living in the UK. Our viewer's not planning to go back and live in the UK. He's happy to live here. He's drawing his pension from the UK. Does he have to pay anything in the UK?
This is an interesting set of issues. If we assume that the individual is Thai tax resident and is not UK resident, but has UK sources of income, then potentially those UK sources of income can be subject to UK tax. The most obvious example would be UK property rental income. Capital gains on the sale of property in the UK would generally give rise to tax charges in the UK. So if that income was then remitted to Thailand, you'd want to make sure that you got double tax relief for the UK taxes that have been suffered on that same income.
And double tax relief is?
So the UK-Thailand double tax agreement should hopefully prevent the double taxation of the same source of income. So the source state has primary taxing rights. So in that example, it's UK property. The UK would have primary taxing rights. The resident state, which is the state which is Thailand, where the individual is resident, would have secondary taxing rights. But the tax in Thailand would you would get the benefit of the UK tax suffered on the same income that is subject to Thailand tax as well.
So if somebody would say to you, what's the best situation for me? I presume that you would say, go and see an accountant. Would it have to be an international tax accountant? Would they speak to an English accountant or an accountant here?
In some countries, tax advisors are often accountants. In others, lawyers. I wouldn't necessarily say go to an accountant, but a tax advisor for sure. And an international tax advisor, if there's an interaction between two or more tax systems. In the case of the UK and Thailand, for example, it may not be that easy getting foreign tax credit relief in Thailand for the UK taxes suffered, because at the moment the two tax systems are based on they're different bases of taxes. In the UK, primarily residence-based tax system, but in Thailand, the foreign sourced income only taxed when remitted. So you've got a timing difference probably there of UK tax when it's derived and a secondary Thai tax when it's remitted.
Yes. So when you actually bring it into the country.
There might be a
very
big timing
complicated,
difference.
isn't it? I'm glad I've got no money. It doesn't affect me. Seriously, though. Steve, thank you very much for talking to us. This is a very important subject. There's a lot of subjects we could have talked about, but I think of everything, that's probably the most pertinent to people who are watching this because it affects everybody.
Okay, it's a pleasure.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yes.
One of the many groups for British people to join, if they choose to join when they live in Thailand, is the Royal British Legion. And certainly in the UK, we always think of the Royal British Legion as being that network of people that used to be in the military, that want to stick with people who used to be in the military. But I think there's a difference to that. With us now, David McKenny, how are you?
I'm very well, and thank you for having me.
So, David, you're the boss of bosses here, are you?
Not quite. I am the secretary for the Royal British Legion in Thailand.
Right.
In other words, I do all the work.
How many? Yeah, same as me. How many branches of British Legion do you have in Thailand?
One.
That's just one.
It used to be RBL Chonburi,
Yes.
and then Chonburi up until 2 years ago. So it was formed in 2007, but up until 2 years ago, then we changed it to RBL Thailand because Chonburi was looking after.
But you
all
do
of
have
Thai- all of
meetings in
Thailand.
Pattaya, you have meetings all
Yes.
over the country.
Yeah, so we have predominantly our meetings in Pattaya because most of the expat military are actually living in
Right.
the sort of Pattaya area, but we do have people up in the northeast, northwest, down in Phuket, across in Hawaii and Bangkok.
What percentage of your membership do you think are ex-military?
Of the membership, probably 90%.
90%.
Yeah, we do have non-ex-military, which are members as well.
What do you have to offer them?
So what we do is we look after or try to accommodate serving and ex-serving
Right.
service people. And what we do is we'll look after them for, whether it be from a medical perspective, all the way of rent, something's happened and they don't have the finances anymore. And right through to
you're
looking
offering a
after funeral.
welfare service.
Essentially, it is a welfare
Okay.
service, yes, but it's a welfare service, but also a charity as well.
Oh, you are a charity?
Yeah, so what we're working towards that being a charity established in Thailand,
Right.
a registered number in Thailand, but we are a charity in the UK.
So if an ex-serving member or a member of the Royal British Legion is down on their luck, they can contact you for a bit of help.
Correct. And we do have trained caseworkers, which they've been either trained over here or whether they've been trained in the UK, and they'll actually go out and they'll assess the situation and report back to Thailand, and then it will get pushed out to
Are you
London.
coming up with
to
more and
London.
more problems here, or is it becoming less?
It's actually becoming well. There's a lot more problems when it was during COVID, but since COVID's sort of, we'll say not quite gone away, but it's almost.
Right.
The number of cases has significantly reduced because of
Well, it's good for you and it's good for everybody else.
Absolutely. So we've only got 7 cases in all of Thailand, which is very low considering the population. There's 40 to 60,000 expats, and of the expats in Thailand, British expats, of the expats in Thailand, there is probably a high percentage of them are ex-serving military personnel.
So the thing is, as an expat, you come here and you're pretty much an island. You're at home, you know people. You go down the pub, you know people there. Here, you can still go down the pub, but you may not know people and you may not consider them as friends. And for a lot of people, you do become an island. It's very difficult to live in Thailand sometimes.
Mm.
And for anybody who is looking to join the Royal British Legion, how do they join?
Well, it's online for membership, so there's 2 portions to the.
So they would Google Royal British Legion Thailand.
No, they would Google Royal British Legion, and then it'll take you into a membership page
Right.
at some point. So it tells you
Okay.
all about the British Legion, what they do, etc. And then you can go into their membership, and for £20 or approximately 1,000 baht, then you can become a member of the British Legion in Thailand. But you can also be up to 4 branches. So it's not just Thailand, so you can go in and be a member in, I don't know.
So if you're a member in the UK
somewhere in
already,
Spain.
that's valid here.
Absolutely, in
Okay.
Canada. I came from Canada, so you could have a membership in Canada, a membership here, a membership in the UK.
Excellent.
Obviously, you're doubling up or doubling down on the membership fee,
Sure.
but you're still getting the support wherever you go.
Well-
And it doesn't matter if you're in Thailand and you're traveling and you have an issue in another country, etc. You're a member of Thailand. So we're going to try and reach out from a welfare perspective and try and repatriate.
Where do you get the
all
money
Thailand.
from to fund all this?
A lot of it comes from charity events. So we'll actually create our own events. So we do a charity golf, which happens in September. And of that, we raised approximately, I think it was 400,000 baht.
Wow.
Our Poppy Appeal this year was phenomenal.
We used to, before COVID, we used to do that. Megan and I, or the whole radio station used to promote that. It's a big event.
That's huge. It's huge. And the Poppy Appeal, we raised over 1.5 million.
Really? So in a year, you'll raise over 2 million baht.
Yes, absolutely.
So you have
so if some money goes back to the UK to go into the big pot for supporting ex-servicemen.
Right.
We can draw upon that pot as well. If the money that we retain here is not enough, we can still draw back.
I think
down
it's
again.
very important for I know a lot of people who are ex-military, and I know a lot of them that go through issues that are not common to civilians.
Correct.
Wherever they've served, if they've served in rather nasty places, we all know where they were or are, or they've come back and not quite got over it, or if they didn't think they were affected but suddenly find that they are. And you're probably the best guys to understand it.
Absolutely. We also reach out to other veteran associations which are in Thailand as well. So the likes of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, which is an American association. We do a lot of work with the Thai veteran as well.
Yeah, that's
So we can, if we don't know who to talk to, we know people who we can find out to get to talk to.
there you go then. If you're looking to join or you'd like to find out more, Google the Royal British Legion Thailand, and you'll probably find the site there and the Facebook page. And if you want to join, you can join on their website as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right at the very beginning, we talked about death, which is probably the last thing we should have talked about. And we've talked about taxes, we talked about medical insurance and the importance of that, all with guests who have been here today, guests of the British Consulate and Embassy, because they are companies that have been recognised for actually going the extra mile for British citizens here in the country. My next guest is Kun Pijan. Yes?
Yes.
Now, Kun Pijan is, what you tell us, what do you do for a living?
I'm the founder of Bangkok Global Law. We advise people
Bangkok
on
Global Law. Interesting point of interest. You actually studied law partially in London, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. I studied law at King College, London.
Okay. Now, there's a couple of questions I want to ask you. Somebody's dead now. How important is it that they have a will?
Yes, it's very important to have the will, for your estate. And it's good if you have children or grandchildren, or even, you can donate your estate to a charity.
If I'm British and I make a will in the UK, does it apply to Thailand?
No, it's different. The British will be applicable under the English law.
Right.
But you have to prepare a will in Thailand for the property in Thailand.
Really?
Yes,
So if I own a condo here, you must have a Thai will.
yes.
Okay, so that's an interesting one because I didn't know that. I thought that if you had a British will, it could apply to your assets here.
I mean, this can apply the business will in Thailand, but you have to have the probate,
Right.
and it's difficult. And then you have both property in the UK and in Thailand. So it's better to have a British will for the property in Britain and a Thai property.
And it's not very expensive here, is it?
No, it's not expensive.
No. Okay, so we have that. Then we have a thing called a power of attorney. What does the power of attorney do?
I mean, power of attorney is prepared by the guarantor and then to an attorney in fact, and is related to the bank account when the guarantor is still alive.
So let's just say I got Alzheimer's, but I had a power of attorney that I gave to somebody. That's when that would kick in, is it?
Yes, that's right.
If I was in hospital, if I couldn't talk, I needed somebody else to manage my affairs, that's when that would kick in, is it?
Yes, that's right. But the power of attorney is effective and valid when and is useful when the people is still alive. But if the people is passed away, then we need a will.
Yes. Okay, the other thing that's important to a lot of people is there's a thing here called a living will, which, for example, if I were in a hospital and I was in a coma for months on end, it might be my wish, it might be somebody else's wish, that they pull the plug and say goodbye, that you don't extend my life unnecessarily, that you don't do this, that you don't do that. Now, the hospitals are bound to honour those agreements if you've got them in place, aren't they?
Yes, that's right. Because if someone is seriously ill, he would like to live in peace.
But I also understand that that you have to, when you do, if you're going to go have one of those things, you've got to put it into effect, obviously before you die, but you've got to put it into effect and serve it on the hospitals and the medical centres that you regularly use so that they have it on record, yeah?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, good. Now I understand. It's a very important thing for us, especially as we get older. So we have a will that's going to protect us. It's not very expensive. You can call any lawyers and find out the price of a will. It really isn't expensive as long as it's not complicated. We've talked about power of attorney, and we've also talked about a living will, which can be applied. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, you're welcome.
It wouldn't be a proper thing to do to leave here without speaking to somebody from the embassy themselves. And I thought we'd talk to the British ambassador, but he's done a runner. We found the Deputy British Ambassador, Dave Thomas. Thank you very much for joining us.
Nice to meet you.
Dave, you're obviously a career diplomat.
Well, yeah, I was a policeman, actually, before I was a
You
diplomat.
were what?
A policeman.
We'll leave now. All of us. Where?
Bedfordshire Police.
Oh dear, it's getting worse. So now you are the Deputy Ambassador. You're working with Mark. Here this evening, I heard you make a speech earlier on. What's the point of the evening?
So this really is a thank you to all of the people that we partner with to support British nationals when they've got problems. So if they've been hospitalised, if it's supporting next of kin because someone close to them has died, if they're in prison or in the police station. So whether you work in government or the private sector, it's just a big thank you because we couldn't do the work without them.
You see, one of the issues, and I'll tell you what's going to happen. I know I don't care. I'm not diplomatic. When this video goes out, there's going to be that small vocal minority who are going to sit there, look at them, they're spending our tax monies on drinks and food down there, and they do nothing for me. The British Embassy does nothing, which is probably the furthest from the truth, isn't it? What are the services do you think? I know that what the embassy does for the country and for representing the nation and dealing with diplomatic issues and political stuff. What do you think you do for the people? Expats, tourists.
Sure. Well, first of all, just to the vocal minority that you mentioned, I guess what I would say is actually this is a really worthwhile investment because a lot of these partners expend a huge amount of goodwill and time and their own resources, often helping British nationals in distress for free. So I think that's where we get the payback. So it's worth the investment of a few drinks and a bit of food so that we can accumulate that goodwill and keep it going from year to year. But to your second question, in terms of what do we do for the people? Well, if they get in trouble, obviously we're here to support and help them. So if that means you've been arrested, you might need a signposting to some legal advice. If you want just general travel advice, you're visiting the country, I would strongly suggest that anyone listening, if they're a tourist or even if they're a resident, going to gov.uk and putting in Thailand travel advice, huge amount of information on there. Whether you've been arrested, hospitalised, if you want tips on how to live in Thailand, if you've got notarial work that you need to sign up, there's a huge amount of information. And if there's ever a crisis, if you sign up to that formally on the site, we will update you and give you information on a sort of rolling basis.
And you were saying earlier on the number of people applying to you for the paperwork that's necessary to get married here.
Yes, so that is a requirement of Thai regulation that they come to the British Embassy and get that paperwork.
And it's increased.
The paperwork.
The number of people applying this year.
Yes, so our consul Joanne, who also made some remarks, I think what we're seeing now is the kind of bounce back post-COVID. So we were having over 1 million British visitors before COVID. We had a pretty healthy residence population, but now that's bouncing right back because it dropped obviously in COVID. A lot of people left or stopped visiting. So along with the increase in visitors and the increase in residents, you're seeing a natural increase in casework.
Right, and that casework, of course, goes from south all the way to the north.
Absolutely. We've got British residents who live in the islands, who live in Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, and Bangkok. And of course, you've got tourists everywhere.
And this is the work of the consular services that we're talking about now.
In terms of supporting, whether it's a resident or a visitor, the consular services, although they're based in Bangkok, we will deploy to, other parts of the country if we need to. And we've also got honorary consuls.
So what do you see as the main objective of the ambassadorial side? You and Mark, what is your objective for this year?
So I think the first thing I'd say is it's the 170th anniversary of UK-Thailand diplomatic relations this year. And I think what that does is provide a big boost on the cultural side. So we're celebrating the relationship and everything we've got in common. That's shared security, shared prosperity. Both our countries are right now majoring on economic growth, both the new British and the new Thai government. So Mark and I spend a lot of time, obviously, talking to the government, talking to companies to get them to invest in the UK, companies who want to invest in Thailand. So the huge amount that goes on the political and the commercial side. But, this is the biggest consular team in our global network.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can't lead an organisation or the embassy without, carving out the time to make sure you support that team. And when it comes to very controversial or difficult cases, or engaging with governors or police commissioners, prison directors, that's when Mark and I will be deployed.
So you must be involved more on the ambassadorial side with the political side and what's going on in politics today.
Yes, but actually there's a lot of crossover. So let's take road safety.
Right.
The team will be dealing with, unfortunately, the victims of road safety. If they've had a motorbike or a car accident, one of my jobs will be to go into the Minister of Transport and say, can you please improve, road safety, whether that's through new legislation, regulation, might be to go to the police commissioner to say, can you please enforce people wearing helmets on bikes or to stop drink driving? So, we talk about political work, but actually a lot of it is about lobbying to just improve the livelihood.
As indeed the British ambassador, Mark, his number one goal was literacy and reading and books. He was very keen on that, wasn't he? He's talked about that a lot.
Yeah, Mark's a great linguist. So he's a fantastic Thai speaker, and he's very keen to promote English language as well. We've got a really great British Council operation here.
Where does the British Council work out of?
They're just near the Siam Centre.
Okay, what do they do? Just briefly, really quickly.
Sure. So basically, they lead on promoting British culture, but they've got a huge exam centre. So English exams that Thai citizens need to sign up to in order to perhaps get into a UK university.
Right.
For example.
They can go to the British Centre and do that.
And they'll promote British arts and culture as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us.
Nice to meet you. Cheers.